To know Father Bauer was to know a living saint.
Quincy was home. His family was here, his mom and dad.
He grew up on Elm Street. Between 24th and 22nd, there was something like 5 priests.
His mom, who was my grandmother, tells me that he knew from a very early age he wanted to be a priest. Roy talked about riding his bicycle to serve Mass at St. Mary's Hospital at 6:30 before school.
He left after St. Francis after 8th grade. He went to St. Henry's Seminary in Belleville.
It's a high school seminary.
After that, he did 2 years in a diocesan school in Old Berlin, Illinois, and then he did 6 years at a seminary in Mundelein, Illinois. And by that time, he was 25 years old, and that's when he got ordained.
His first assignment was at, and I know this well, was at Blessed Sacrament Church in Springfield, Illinois. And so I got to know him quite well. Was the inspiration for me to become a priest. God love him, but he wasn't quite ready for me. And I kept him always on his toes. But I love the man. I really love the man.
The man is revered in Calhoun County when he took care of all of those parishes down there.
In Hardin and Campsville and Michael and Bellevue. And he was there for 15 years.
Roy Bauer is the epitome of the parish priest.
In 1985, then he was assigned to come to St. Peter's.
There's only one city in the Diocese of Springfield where you can start in preschool and get a postgraduate degree all in a Catholic school, and that's Quincy.
He was one that was always concerned about Catholic education.
He wanted to be in the classroom as much as he could, teaching religion classes.
So you know what a good teacher he was in the classroom, and our kids had the opportunity to learn from him. That's just precious.
One of the things that he always took pride in, whether we like it or not, is that there was no tuition.
And I understand how the other parishes felt in sort of a competitive way. It was unfortunate because, you know, you could send your kid to St. Peter's for free.
And what ended up happening is that people were flocking to St. Peter's because they didn't have tuition. And so the numbers continued to grow while the numbers at the other parishes were decreasing. And so the pastors weren't too happy with Father Bauer.
He wasn't trying to put it over on any other parish or any other school. His attitude was, bring me the children.
He saw it as a way of evangelizing.
Because he had the same attitude as our Lord did, and bring me the little children. He didn't care where they came from, if they could pay or not, whatever. St. Peter's is open to you, and he knew that was how we passed the faith on. People would say, but Father, you don't charge tuition. He says, well, that just is the mission of the parish, so we'll fund it out of the collection on Sunday. And they would say, well, Father, these kids' parents aren't going to be in church on Sunday to put anything in the collection basket. So, you know, how are we going to educate them? And so we're going to do it as our parish mission, to be evangelists, to pass on the faith. And maybe those kids will get mom and dad to come to church on Sunday morning, or maybe they'll just go themselves when they grow up. But we're going to educate them.
Yeah, he was. He was a disciple. He was.
I think we were the second largest school system in Adams County, and he ran that. So the bishop at some point said, we're going to have to charge tuition.
He was kind of the one that oversaw the construction of Seton Hall out here, which is our 7th and 8th grade junior high building. He also added a kindergarten classroom at one point. He had a computer labs was put in during his time. So he was always investing in the school.
But he always made it a point for his students to go to Washington, D.C.
He started that in 1976 in Calhoun County.
And for that bus trip, he had it planned out not just to the minute, to the second.
He would keep the kids busy.
You know, I'm thinking about 2,000 people total went on that trip over time.
And he didn't care much for luxury accommodation.
With a bunch of 8th graders, so that would have been a tough trip, I think, at age 75, but he did it.
In his preaching, he was always a storyteller.
He'd try to start every Mass with a joke.
Some of them were pretty corny. He had a 5-minute sermon.
He had to keep it moving. Back in those days, we had 4 Masses. On Sunday morning, he said 3 of them, and the other one he played the music for.
I asked Father about that one time. He said, it's as important to know when Mass is going to end as when it starts.
I saw something in the Herald Whig one time. He had 13,000 homilies on file, all typed, all one page, all just one page, but exactly one page.
So he wrote the history of our St. Peter's Church.
He wrote beautifully, and he wrote a very nice biography of Father Tolton that we have used with great success.
And he was very much a promoter of Father Augustus Tolton's canonization.
Because of his love of Quincy and Quincy's history, that really went about promotion of Father Tolton for sainthood.
He would have busloads of people come here from Chicago, and he would talk about Father Tolton, and then he would take them over to Brush Creek, Missouri, which is where Father Tolton was born. And
one of the great days in the history of this parish, in 1997, Father Bauer organized a citywide celebration of the life of Father Tolton. The day that Cardinal George opened the cause for sainthood in Chicago, because that's where Father Tolton died. Bishop Joseph Perry, who is the postulator of the cause for sainthood, from the pulpit that day in Chicago said, we have to recognize none of us would be here today if it wasn't for Father Roy Bauer.
And when his mother died, he bought a statue in honor of his mother. He bought a statue of Father Tolton, and it's outside now. I think it says on the side of that statue, in memory of Irene Bauer, on the side of that.
I don't know any priest that converted more people to Catholicism than Father Roy Bauer.
He had, that list I've got is 726 names of people that he helped to convert to Catholicism, and 290 of them, I think it is, that was just since he got to Quincy. Or his final weekend here, we had kind of a celebration Mass, and all of the Eucharistic ministers and lectors were all people that he had converted. That meant a lot to him.
After he retired, he didn't stop being a priest.
He had put together a list of every priest in the history of the Springfield diocese and where they were buried, how old they were when they died, and what year they died. And that was a tremendous undertaking to research all that stuff. So he had been in the hospital Easter week and was determined he was going to say Mass at 8 o'clock on Sunday. He had lined that up with Father Leo. He did get out of the hospital finally on Saturday afternoon and got here to say that Mass with Father Leo's help. And then after that Mass, he went out to my parents' house for Easter dinner and stayed for just a short while. And when he went to leave, he turned to him and he said, "I've had a great life. There's nothing I would change." And he headed back home. He died 3 or 4 days later. So Easter Sunday was his final Mass. When he passed away, he left a donation, pretty much everything, to Quincy Notre Dame.
And of course, he set up a foundation.
What a legacy. As I said, it's just another example of putting his values into action.
And that was just because of his love for Catholic education.
So Father Bauer's legacy continues to this day and will go on perpetually.
Yeah, I think Father Bauer is deserving of this honor just because I think he was as committed to education as anybody.
Great choice to be honored for Catholic education. You couldn't pick a better person, so deserving.
He saw the value in Catholic education, and I don't know of another priest that was more committed to that value.
Well, I just think we're always grateful for those that went before us, going all the way back to those school sisters of Notre Dame over a century and a half ago, and we all, we stand on their shoulders. you.